another time we were going to lose to the Giants.
That game was like a movie.
The worst.
It's like a perfect storm.
And then Deshaun Jackson's on the field, and you're like, he could do this.
You could hear a pin drop.
You're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God.
Oh my God. I don't know.
It's bad.
Any moment something will find out this is the Justin Verlander is done again! You checked it in the NBA. I'm like, what? Everybody's Facebook stats, it's just all in caps. I jumped off.
The Cavs screaming.
Oh, yes!
John Brandon said, yes. And the phone's ringing and you're texting me, you don't really have time to answer anybody.
In your face, told you so.
Yeah, that's my team.
I mean, it was just crazy.
That's the power of sports. It's like a club, but it's a club that contains millions of people, and we all love sports.
My grandfather, my father, and myself can all come together on one accord and watch something that is meaningful to all of us.
Whenever I go to baseball games, I always think of my dad.
I live 10 hours away from it, but through sports, we're connected. There's a certain power that comes from watching sports and watching those great moments happen. At its absolute best, it's magic. This is how it's met. We connect through sports.
That is what, how many people identify with any of the people that are in there? It's, what sports, when I started in '79, and if any of you were around back then, we had 3 outlets for television sports, CBS, NBC, and ABC. And you got the game of the week on Saturday afternoon for Major League Baseball, and you got the one of 2 football games on Sunday, and that was it. Well, I'm proud to say that I've had a great tenure at ESPN, inventing the world of sports as we now know it. I am not only a resident of Connecticut, I'm a Waterbury boy. In fact, I live in the same house I grew up as a kid. I haven't gone very far. It's convenient. It's 11 miles from where I work. And I've had a great run at being 32 years at ESPN, inventing something that is really special in our lives. I want to talk today about, and as I said, our mission today is to serve sports fans. That's our fundamental DNA in our company, is to serve each and every one of you and each and every one of the other 120 million households that we hit in a monthly basis on watching sports or interacting with sports. And that doesn't include the worldwide phenomena that we got, because we're in every country other than Iceland and Greenland on a 24-hour basis now in the world. Our history, right from the very beginning, there was only 40 of us in '79. There's now 7,000 of us worldwide. Our history has always been to get out in front with emerging technologies rather than waiting for business models. We don't do quantitative analysis to see what's going to hit. We take risky chances, and that's been in our DNA from the very first beginning, early light of ESPN. Our very first innovation was our birth. As I mentioned, we only had 3 outlets for sports in '78, '79. When we put that shovel in the ground, to the left is Bill Rasmussen, our founder. To the right is our first president, Chet Simmons, who recently passed away, putting a shovel in the ground in Bristol. That reinvented the whole sports experience that we each go through in this day and age. That was, I still have the dent in the back of my head from my father kicking me. I was working at Channel 3, a post-Newsweek station in '77, '78. And it was a CBS affiliate, the Tiffany Network. And I told him I was going to go to work for this startup called ESPN. He goes, ESPN, what the hell is that? I go, it's an all sports network. He goes, you're going to be out of work within 2 months. He goes, what are you, out of your freaking mind? Hit me in the back of the head. Unfortunately, he passed away about 6 years later. Had he stuck around and found out what it had turned into, I think he would have been suturing my head even to this day. Our early sign, the earmark, our first disruption, our first building on campus of our 110-acre facility now. Our first disruptive technology was similar to the internet startup, except it was a satellite. No one was using satellites in the 70s. We took a chance along with our comrades at HBO and developed a satellite-delivered network for cable systems. Cable wasn't even called cable back then. It was then called master antenna television. We used cable or master antenna to bring signals in from New York or Boston on top of high mountains so that people could get them because you weren't getting them on your over-the-house aerials. But satellite was our first disruption. You know, each and every one of us probably deals with how do you plan for technology. You're keeping your eye on, this is the nice early days of technology, you know, the horse and cart analogy. You had an established technology on the left, you had over time things got better, and the new technology, the successor technology is the automobile. That was nice and simple. Then it got a little bit weirder. You know, you had one successor, now you go into a swarm of successor technologies. Well, this is what goes through my feeble little mind at times lately. It's like navigating the Tokyo subway system. Try doing this on a daily basis. This map reminds me of a joke. What makes God laugh? People making long-range plans. And that says it nicely in this thing. Why plan? It's just eventually going to bite up and get you right by the short ones before you even know that's happening. Planning is sort of an art, but you know what? Taking a chance and innovating is really what it's all about in our sector of the world, in the media side. I always go back to Albert to figure out what should I do. He's my guiding light. I'm an engineer by training. I can't get that out of me. And he guides me and my team along the same way with scientific logic and thinking about things rationally. What we're really focused on is trying to figure out what is it that each and every one of you want in a sports experience when you're on your TV, on your internet connection, on your mobile device, on your iPad, on your Android device, on your iPhone. Number one, what they want is the best experience. We call it the best screen available philosophy. If you want to watch it on an iPad, you can download the Watch ESPN application and watch television in the comfort of wherever you want to watch. Instead of on an iPhone, Matt, an iPad is a little bit more beneficial for us getting up there in the years. I know it is for me. We are all about making sure each and every one of you are satiated on getting your content and your experience with us, because that's the ultimate version of CRM in our opinion. We use a company called One Touch Intelligence. They sort of take an earmark for us in the marketing world on trying to figure out what is it that we're doing right. And the thing that they continuously come back is that technology is key. The almost religious devotion, that's a very nice way. We're overly anal about technology in the company. We focus, this entire existence of media is all about technology at this stage. Disney's president, Bob Iger, he was inducted into the Royal Television Society in London, it had to be 6 years ago. And he said a very poignant comment that stuck with me. Content will remain king, but technology will be its appropriate prime minister. And you know what? 6 years ago, it's coming to fruition every day. And you couldn't have a better boss in the Walt Disney Company than Bob Iger, because he is probably a closet engineer at best. He is just a techno freak. We look into our consumer insights. They tell us a lot of feedback. We have a great CRM system. It's called feedback directly from our consumers, and they give us feedback whether we want it or not. Our sports fans drive technology adoption, especially, and I'm using the model here on the mobile device, a typical phone cell owner on the left versus an avid sports fan. Clearly, we are leading the way on getting those people in our psyche on technological platforms that they want to have because they want to have the product that they want to watch when they want to have it. Our fans perceive ESPN to be their most valuable player. Research after research. They consistently come to us to be satiated for scores, information, and what I call the laid-back approach when you go to the television side of the equation. We have a 3-screen approach for in the house. TV, tablet, and portable device for getting instantaneous messaging. Our fans are demanding it, and we're there to give it to them. Our mobile users rate our brand higher on momentum and innovation. And this, by the way, is the same on our television side of the equation. The same data, the same comments. Our fans purely want a better experience. I'll let you read this. I'll read it out to you. ESPN covers the big national teams and the big markets. I get that. They're a business, and I would do the same. Now the thing that disappoints me is that they have more money and better technology than anyone. Now our fans are getting finicky about this. They're really driving this. They should be able to develop much more customized content for me on my smartphone. They know where I am. They know what teams I like. That's where they can serve me local rather than on national content. So the key to this whole thing is on the bottom right-hand corner. The key is not to squander the strong position, but we're accelerating it daily, hourly, and by the minute, serving that desire for more localized and experiences based upon how you as a person want to consume sports. Brand is the ultimate navigator in our space. Disney is a great leader in that aspect. Our brand and our desire is to purely surprise, excite, and engage sports fans, and deliver them more content, because the demand curve is an unbelievable economic engine in the sports world. It keeps exceeding. We don't have enough supply to keep up with the demand curve, and we're looking for more outlets. Our ESPN3, which is our IPTV over the web experience right now, is setting records in it because we are serving alternate markets with other content than what you're seeing on television or on your smartphone. We invest a lot of money in preparation of content. This is our 2004, we call it the Digital Center. It's only because we couldn't call it the Analog Center. No one makes analog equipment in our space anymore. But it's a 125,000 square foot digital production facility. In 2004, it was state of the art. It's all high definition right from the design. It's got like an 80 gigabit per second network that routes all the video content around the building and through the rest of the campus for people to do their work at their desk, but it's primarily the engine that makes ESPN percolate every night and every day. We flood it with technology. People have tools, and we develop our own tools. We buy a lot of tools. It looks like a mushroom farm from up here, doesn't it? It's our satellite teleport. We bring in every day in excess of 500 hours of video and audio content from the outside world. That big dish that looks like a highlight baton over on the left, that brings in 35 satellites all at once. I'm looking at the entire orbital arc of every satellite up there. I'm just consuming and consuming. And that's on top of, I have coming into us 80 OC192 circuits on fiber from various outlets to, we have fiber all over the planet. We got connectivity to our London facility, Buenos Aires, Sao Paulo, our Singapore facility, our Tokyo partners, our LA facility where we do stuff. We are a fiber user extraordinaire, but we're also a big satellite user, and that's what got us into the disruptive state of sports television. And we just put our shovel in the ground with our governor, who's right there in the middle, and I'm on the left-hand side. We put our shovel in the ground. We just started construction of our second digital center, appropriately called Digital Center 2. This time it's 195,000 square feet of facility. It's comprised of 4 studios, multiple control rooms, and a whole bunch of other technological infrastructure to continue making the product and content that each and every one of you guys want to consume daily. It goes online in 2014, and it will be introduced by a change in the Sports Center studio when we do that. They will be getting a refreshing of their look on the air, and that's when we plan on moving them over into this building. So how do we get it done? The title of my talk was Organizational Convergence for Technology Innovation. We've had to do a lot of changes across the board because when we launched as a company, we had about 3 different disparate parts of what would be classified technology. You had the IT part, you had the engineering part that was doing the broadcast stuff, and then you have eventually the new media population that was starting the internet ventures. We were all percolating away very nicely, getting their jobs done, but we were eventually tripping over each other and doing things inefficiently and not ideating and collaborating and cross-pollinating across the board, getting the best ideas for the best efficiency at the lowest cost. I love this quote: if it works, it's obsolete, and it's basically the mantra that we live by lately anymore in our world. This comes true every day. Charles Darwin: most responsive to change are the ones who get it done. We actually become who we hang out with after a while, after the comfort level and getting to know each other. After I did a major scrambling, and I'll talk a little bit about that, and getting everyone at least on the same page. But we become this a little bit. Playful scientists were the ultimate goal. I wanted people to think, I wanted people to create. I don't like the word innovation. I think it's becoming too commoditized. I wanted people to introduce wow into our daily lives. But for some of us from the beginning, it was like yogi. It's all over again, deja vu. Best words I can say is we screwed it up. Tom Peters has a saying called SAV, screw around vigorously. It's play or you'll never invent. And that was a concept that we actually had to introduce into our ecosystem to get people to start thinking a little bit outside the vein. People were so rigid in their approaches to making sure policies were adhered to. They had to get this on the air. I had to get this project done. We had to back off a little bit and create play and innovation time and ideation time across our board. I love this quote also. You can't make an omelet without breaking some eggs. So we broke some eggs. First thing we did was normalize the playing field. We had more prefixes and suffixes around the word technology in people's job titles. We got rid of that. You're a technologist, purely and simple. ESPN is a content company. Our mission is to serve our fan. Your mission is to generate the content and bring in the money. We created an uncomfortable playpen for few. You know, some of the broadcast guys were uncomfortable when I scrambled them into an IT role, and some of the IT guys were uncomfortable when I moved them into a broadcast role. The new media guys were uncomfortable coming into both ends of the world because they came from different cultures on their development. We empowered risk-taking, made sure people knew that we were challenging them to be risky, think out of the box, wow me. We pushed for collaboration, ideation, and really out-of-the-box thoughts, and a whole bunch of other stuff in between. But at the end, it was always known and made sure that people understood the safety blanket is there. We were cognizant we were doing a behavioral modification. We got rid of the prefixes and suffixes around the titles. We cross-developed our talent pool as best as we can, and that's an evolving process. That mission is not done, and we started this journey about 6 years ago. And we cross-pollinated the cultures, which is still an undone thing, but it's getting better each and every day. I mentioned earlier we had 3 technology pillars. What drove us is leadership. We push leadership down to the most lowest level in the organization. You don't need a title to be a leader in our organization. You gotta have courage, you gotta have a vision, and you gotta have the ability to drive it, follow through with it, develop it, sell it, and deliver it. You got an open picnic basket here, Yogi. You can have whatever you want. We give them the opportunity to be in that mindset. And we scramble the eggs and make a new omelet. We took the Google approach on risk-taking, although that's not very well documented. We gave people this is not across the board, but purely the real engineers and the technologists that were really thinking outside the box. We gave them 20% to start thinking about stuff that had nothing to do with their job. The other 80% was associated with the job. We wanted people thinking. The key is we held people accountable for ideas, development, and pushing it. On the innovation side, we created an innovation group. I actually have a group that's probably about 15, 20 people that are in their title is that they're innovation. I've encouraged them to screw around vigorously. Their jobs demand nothing but new ideas. They're not in the operation mindset. They are basically thinkers. We eroded, I like the word cylinders of excellence instead of silos. Silos are so negative, but it happens when you're a 7,000 people organization, as in any organization greater than about 5. We have a big effort going on with labs and what we call lablets. Labs, we created an innovation lab down at our sister property, the ESPN Wide World of Sports in Orlando, Florida. It's a test bed of sporting athletic fields that we are playing with people when they come in and do amateur athletic events. Our first and 10, we did our 3D television learnings and production processes down there because we had an open playpen, and it got us out of Bristol where people didn't have to worry about putting out fires on a daily basis. We're looking at another lab potentially out in the Palo Alto Bay Area somewhere to be connected into that environment. But that was risky for us. We didn't have that mindset in the beginning to go out and do. We were just basically there to keep expenses low in the early days and not invest on development. Now we're in that and doing a catch-up mode. Lablets, Walt Disney Company has also got a big push on research and development. They got Disney Research as a function that reports up to Bob Iger now. And they have lab and university connections in 3 major areas that I'm interested in, primarily at Carnegie Mellon. We have a lablet in Carnegie Mellon. We have a lablet, a small lab, working with the folks at ETH, Albert Einstein's alma mater, over in Zurich, Switzerland. And they're now developing a new lablet over at the University of Tokyo in Tokyo on robotic research. We have people involved doing that. We have collaboration with our sister companies. I have a guy who sits up at Pixar Animation in Emeryville, California, but he works as an ESPN employee. We do cross-pollination like that across the Disney sphere. We're trying to get better acquainted. We're a large company. We're on multiple time zones around the world. And we're also going to be doing a lablet in Bengaluru in India, because it is such a critical focus for us on the international digital media frontier, and all our operations actually come out of India in Bengaluru. We created play areas for people to play. And that's when you're dealing with a sausage factory, which is really what ESPN is. It's a big sausage factory. We create sausage that people watch. It's called sports. So to get play involved into the daily aspect was a new coming, and it took people a little bit of getting used to. At the end of the day, instead of trying to do everything, we organized our world of ESPN for our sports fans, and came out with the fact that less is usually more. We always went back to Abraham Maslow, the psychologist, and made sure that his hierarchy of needs is always in view of when we're trying to figure out what we're doing next. I also have a psychology background, and that actually helps the process, because I'm very attuned to this stuff. It's part of how do you get the whole change aspect. You got to keep people comfortable. Was it easy? I don't know. We're still going through it. I think bamboo shoots under my fingernails at days would have been easier, but I'm most proud of what we've been able to accomplish. What we've learned, the more ideas, the better. Clearly, we've gotten some great ideation, some great new products. The Watch ESPN application on the iPad that you can watch with your cable partner as an authenticated user to watch television wherever you're at. That was brewing as a small focus group in a cafeteria that happened to bubble up. No one knew where it was going to go. They prototyped it. No one even knew what they were doing. They showed it to senior management, and 2 days later it was already a product. We learned that everyone is an innovator as long as you give them the opportunity and the support and the role and empowerment. Base hits will give you more runs than swinging for the bleachers. That's very evident. Innovation is definitely an investment. It's going to get you ready for the rapid changes that are always going to happen, and that you need to share that wealth. Not all ideas can be translated into measurable returns, or otherwise failure is allowed. I preach for failure. You never learn how good you're doing till you know how bad you've been. That's my mantra. And management's role is to create the conditions for innovation to bloom. And that's purely what I'm all about, making sure that that happens. And my team is all about making sure that happens. Measurable returns, it's a question mark. Back in March 2010, the writer who wrote this, I sort of started warming up to this guy. He gave us, I think, like number 30 on the top 50 of most innovative companies. I'm now starting to love this guy because he gave it to us earlier this year. We were number 1 in the sports category. We weren't on it 3 years ago. But the one I'm most fond of is the one that we got last year at this time. Oh, the Maximum Tech also has us in the current issue as being one of the leaders. But the one I'm most proud of is what we got from you guys last year, and last December, about a year ago. And with that, I thank you, and I open up the floor if you have any questions, comments, criticisms, whatever. I'm here to answer anything you'd like. We have colleagues in Pixar Animation in Emeryville. We have colleagues in our Buenos Aires facility, in our Sao Paulo facility, in our Singapore facility, in our LA facility. There is a regimented rule that what you learn, you have to share. And that goes by creating a social network per se that's really based more along dialogue and discussion and bringing people back and forth. It's purely hard work and making sure the communication pipeline is going. It doesn't work 100%, but we make a focused effort on making sure that there is a breaking of the bread as much as possible to figure out what's going on in the other sectors. And it's worked out great for us, especially on the Pixar. We've learned so much from those individuals, and they got a great facility and a great set of resources. And they've also learned a ton of stuff from us because we took the lead on 3D television. They were taking the lead on 3D film, and we merged in, we did a lot of stuff down at our innovation lab down in Orlando. I also serve on the Walt Disney's Technology Alliance Council, which is a virtual CTO around the company. There's only 6 or 7 of us. Bob Iger doesn't have a CTO. He's created this group to be the CTO. And we get together twice a month on the phone. We get together once a quarter in person to make sure that that percolation happens. And it's a challenge, but it gets done. We have a good bunch of collaborators within Walt Disney Company. The Sports Data Repository, SDR. It's our big data effort on making sure that every piece of sporting information data is normalized. We use various amounts of platforms. I just came from a big data powwow out at IBM's Almaden area. We're percolating new ideas on getting big data with that, along with social media. This is really where the media sector is going. Big data, social, and interaction on your television. So we're aggressively looking at everything and pushing and driving. They need to have the newest, best device whenever they're out on the road. We give them whatever they really want. I don't care if it's an Android device, if it's an iPad. We had challenges with thought processes around the iPad, and we got more freaking iPads around the place than I ever thought we ever would. We got iPads now that are conference room managers along the wall. It's a great tool. We embraced it and brought it in. We know there's concerns and there's challenges. We're willing to live with it because it's part of the DNA that's going to be changing where we're going, and that's really where the marketplace is going. If you want to be in the converged marketplace, you've got to be converged in how you do your business. So we basically give them exactly what they need and make sure that they're up to speed and up to date on whatever technology they need in the marketplace. Well, actually, we sort of already now do. It's called ESPN3. It's not directly. You have to be at least connected with a cable operator. Our economic model is purely through third party, and it's a long-term relationship. So we are very focused on maintaining those healthy relationships. The word that comes to mind is the a la carte. We don't see that as a viable business model. We've had many economic studies done over the years that basically say, and Disney Channel is a great example. Disney tried this about 15 years ago, going a la carte, and it failed miserably. And we tend to agree with and all the analysis that we've done. You don't necessarily get a better deal from the consumer side of the equation. And for us, it will change our model, but we could adapt. We didn't tell anybody. We actually had this, anybody remember we were going to actually launch a phone? We were going to be an MVNO. We had contracted with Samsung at the time to build a phone. It was a flip phone. This is well before the iPad or many other interactive phones that had come onto the pipeline. And we actually sunk a good portion of money into the development of that. And we got the money for trying to do that. We lost a good portion of it, but we closed it down. And that then transpired into giving us the knowledgeware of going forward on developing a mobile product that was across any platform that came to mind. So it was our little wanderings into the world of telephone to be an MVNO provider, and thereby we learned. We took our licking, and as John Cameron Swayze says, we keep on ticking by going in other markets and and hit the mark. And it was probably the smartest thing we did. Some people look at it as a failure. I don't. I looked at it as a success because we learned, because I think, quite frankly, we emerged much more stronger than what any losses that we incurred because of the phone. We learned a lot. Same as can be said also on 3D TV. We were one of the first ones out there with 3D. Is it gonna be a success? I don't know. I highly doubt it. But our sports fans are such early adopters of technology. I knew once the consumer electronics folks were going to be delivering 3D TV sets, our fans are going to be the first ones out there buying them. And I didn't want to be in a position that says, well, what are you going to give me? I'm here. You had to develop something for them. The same as what our high definition strategy is. There's going to be a next generation high definition strategy coming down the pipeline in the next couple of years. It's called 4K television. It's not on anybody's roadmap, it's on ours. We want to be ready because we want to be there for our fan instead of them asking us for it. We want to be there ready for them to have it. I just read some research our research folks in New York just had put together, and we're finding that most fans now prefer to watch a high definition, I think that was the key changer, high definition game rather than going to the sporting event. I think there's also a couple other things that added into that, PSL, personal seating licenses that were in the thousands of dollars down at MetLife Stadium helped that process. But most avid fans would rather watch it on television is what our research, not all of them, but there's definitely a trend towards that of doing things around a TV set. It's, the experience is better than it was 10 years ago. And the next generation high definition, where everything is basically quadrupled in resolution, the 4K is now 4 times more resolution than what you have right now on your high definition. It's going to be even more mind-boggling. So that's my own little biasness. I think television is a great medium for sports. I hardly go to any event any longer. But there again, after 32 years, I don't watch that much sports.